Friday, happy days. The weekend comes, a cycle hums, waiting to race to you. These days are on.
Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the Happy Days Ahead for the Devils' State of the Fan address. I know Nick is very happy right now, trying to cheer him up a little bit. I'm your host, Sam Woo, here with Pucks and Pitchforks blog editor-in-chief, Nick Villano. Streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Nick, how are you, my friend? Are you happy?
Well, I'm happy because the season's almost over. But here's the thing. So Sam already knows this, but folks, I'm playing hurt tonight. I had my wisdom tooth taken out today. Happened around like 6 hours ago. So for those, and it was the bottom suckers. It was the bottom suckers. So, you know, I might be talking with a little bit of a lisp. I might be talking with a little bit of a like little chipmunk cheeky going on. But you know, folks, I wasn't gonna leave you hanging. This is the last podcast of the regular season. We got the good old Dan Rice on. And Sam, I didn't even tell you this. Dan Rice is doing the podcast in the middle of dinner. I believe this is what he said. Maybe I misread this because I've been a little loopy today. He's in the middle of dinner with Moose.
Really?
Yeah, he's like,
Moose?
yeah, I can step out. I'm meeting with Moose.
We better get both Dan and Moose on.
Yeah, he's like, hand the phone over. What the hell?
Yeah.
So,
does Moose even know?
But he's going to be on in about 7 minutes. But before that, I do want to talk about, Sam, what do you think of this report from Greg Wyshynski of ESPN about your Lindy Ruff? Lindy is 50-50, it says.
Oh, anytime Greg Wyshynski writes for ESPN or back in the day, Puck Daddy blog, I listened, and I thought what he wrote was intelligently written, but at the same time, it's sort of a cliffhanger. Is he staying or is he going? In my opinion, he's staying. In my opinion, I think he should stay, but nobody values my opinion. But it's good to see that Wyshynski is talking about it, and, well, this is what I have to say. I think the players still believe in Lindy. I don't think he's lost the team. I think he's probably frustrated just like everyone else. I don't think coaching is all of the issue. And I just think that the group, including Fitzgerald and the players, I think they need one more year to get at it, because let me tell you something. What we're seeing down in Utica or up in Utica gives me hope. Gives me a lot of hope of what's about to happen for the New Jersey Devils, which is why I think there are happy days ahead for the Devils. Name of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I took it as happy days are ahead because the season ends this week. Those are the happy days when I don't have to.
That's negativity, but that's okay.
Listen, we Mackenzie Blackwood. We can't. Ben Stone can't even get in our comments section and say that we're going to make the playoffs because it's over. Towel's been thrown. But there's some things that I still want to see. I want to see Blackwood get in there one more time. See what he can do. I want to see Nico Hischier get back in the lineup. See what he can do. I want to see Yuri Sharangovich score a goal or two. We love a Yegor celebration is always in our best interest. I kind of want Jesper Bratt to get to a point per game. So he'd have to have a pretty good couple of games. But it's still possible. Steven Stamkos is on a 5-game, 3-point streak. So I feel like Jesper Bratt could do the same thing. Obviously not for 5 games, but, for like a game or two, get a couple 3-point nights to really put put the hammer down.
You got my text, right?
I did not. Did you text me?
Yeah, I texted you. Sorry for
fair
the
enough.
distraction.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, I listen. I know there's a lot of people out there who have the fun with the whole just a goalie mantra. And you know, it is what it is. It's, you know, people are gonna have their fun, and it's hard to defend it when the team looks as bad as it has at certain points this week. You know, Ty Smith, I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with him, especially with these kids like Kevin Ball looking good, and you know, Riley Walsh. It was his first game. I wasn't like in love with what I saw, but it was his first game, and he's a player that's, you know, work in progress anyway. But Nikita Hoytuk has looked good, and it was funny. Somebody brought something up to me the other day, or maybe they just saw it on Twitter, and I'm stealing this. That's possible too. But one thing that comes with bringing up these AHL guys, Sam, is they get a pretty hefty raise. You know, an AHL guy on a normal like entry level contract makes like $207,000 a year. Good money, decent money, you know, not bad. I mean, it's still going to get you a 1-bedroom apartment in New Jersey, but that's neither here nor there. But when they come to the NHL, that they basically quadruple their salary, maybe sometimes even more. You know, so it's a nice little bump at the end of the season to get, you know, to go from a, you know, $2,500 check to a $8,000 check. You know, imagine what that could do for your family, you know, through an off season. Imagine what that can do, you know, as you know,
You could
as you're
buy dinner
trying
for
to,
people.
I know, right? You know, but then, and like, you know, a lot of these players are going to do things in the off season and workouts and things like that. So, you know, it's nice to get a little extra cushion like that. So that's something that, you know, you can't do it in seasons when it does matter. You know what I mean? Like when seasons when you're getting prepared for the playoffs, but in seasons like this, like let's get the young guys in and see what they can do. And I didn't think Nikita Hoytuk would look like he did in the NHL, and I was wrong. And I like that I was wrong. And I was a little bit worried about Kevin Ball a couple weeks ago. Kind of what his trajectory was. Is does he look worse in the AHL? Why is he on the third line in the AHL? But I think it was just a matter of the. It was just a matter of kind of like the AHL. You know, Kevin Dineen is doing some interesting things down there. So I think we don't need to look at the lines as closely as maybe I have. Like we don't need to look at the lines as close as we do in the NHL. And honestly, we probably don't even look at the lines as closely as we do pregame. You know what I mean? Like postgame is when you really want to look at the lines because Lindy Ruff has changed lineups in the middle of the game. He's benched players often. You know, Nolan Foote got benched the other night when he looked pretty good. The night he called out everybody, he was actually playing well on the ice. You know, and that's the thing with Lindy Ruff is that I'm kind of on the fence about because I'm just trying to evaluate him as if I took the goalie situation completely out of it, because you know I do want to evaluate his performance. And if you tie his performance completely to the goalie, yeah, you can basically just take it out completely and just say, you know, he's not at fault for the season because the goalie, you know, of course, the goalie was a mess, but at the same time, I have to separate the two. I have to look at his coaching as if, you know, I'm trying to find the right word, but if I cut out the goalie situation completely, positive, negative, and just looked at the two big things here are development and performance. And I think the development is great in some cases and mediocre in others, but the places that they're great are more important than where they're mediocre. And by the way, do you have Dan's number? Because I've been scrolling trying to find this, but
Of course I have Dan's number.
I
I'm
thought
just
you
waiting
had
for
Dan's
you to tell me, hey, why don't you go get Dan and interrupt his meal with Moose?
Yeah, why don't you call Dan, interrupt this meal with Moose? Let's get him on for 15 minutes, and then I'll take over for a little while. Yeah, you have to evaluate. You have to evaluate Lindy Ruff's performance based on development and based on performance. His development is great. What he's done with Jack Hughes is phenomenal. What he's done with Jesper Bratt is phenomenal. What he's done with Igor Sharangovich is something I didn't even expect to be possible. You could go down the list a little bit more. I actually like what Dougie Hamilton's done for most of the year. After he put the cage on, he's been worse, admittedly. But not that much worse, really. Like, when you look at the numbers, his play on the power play has been atrocious. I will give you that. He has not been good on the power play, and that is one of his strengths. So that's something he needs to work on the offseason. But his 5v5 play has been phenomenal. He's been everything, and I think he's worth the money. So, no, I know a lot of people are worried about that contract. I know a lot of people are, what's that going to look like in next year, let alone 5 years from now? No, I think he's fine. Just don't hit him in the face with pucks anymore. How does that sound? And I've liked what the defenses look like as a whole. I don't think it's that bad. Ryan Graves, Jonas Siegenthaler looking like the best defensive defense. He's another guy who's developed into something we'd never expected. Traded a third-round pick that we got in the Taylor Hall trade from him. The throw-in pick turned into one of the best defensive defensemen in the league. And here's the thing. Because the cases against development for Lindy Ruff are ones that were for him last year. Yanni Kuokkanen, Michael McLeod, Ty Smith, 3 players that were phenomenal and a real big part of why we ever won games, now have fallen off. So, it's just very interesting. But Sam's back.
I'm back. I was chit-chatting with our next guest about what they're eating.
Oh.
I'm always wondering what they're eating. Him and Moose out whining and dining somewhere in beautiful New Jersey, perhaps. Yeah. Our next guest,
I like dining.
His name is Dan Rice. He's Pucks and Pitchforks blog contributor. You can find him on Twitter at DRiceHockey. Dan, you're on with Sam and Nick. What are you eating tonight?
What's going on, boys? I'm not eating anything anymore. I just polished off a nice filet mignon.
Wow.
Oh, man. You didn't save us any, huh?
A little fancy schmancy. Nah, I don't get to go out too often, so you got to go all out when you actually do.
That's fine. We'll give you that one, Dan. But appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. I know you're in better company, but we'll try our best to make sure that we'll treat you real nice over here.
Nah, I love you guys just as much as I love them.
So let me ask you this. That report came out from Greg Wyshynski, the 50-50 Lindy Ruff. I'm not going to ask you to tell me what you think of that specifically, but I do want to know, what is your evaluation of Lindy Ruff in general this season? Do you think, are you somebody who throws out the entire book because of the goaltending situation made it literally impossible to coach this team, or do you focus on development, or do you think, there's a needs improvement next to it? Where are you on Ruff this season?
I think I've been pretty consistent where I'm good with Lindy Ruff. I haven't had any issues with him, or I haven't really questioned any of his decisions. He's been in a little bit of a tough spot with the goalie situation, like you mentioned, and fairly young roster. One of the youngest, if not the youngest rosters in the league. But he's done some good things too. Look at the development of Jesper Bratt. Jack Hughes from year 1 to year 2. This is the play of Dawson Mercer, somebody that we didn't think was going to be on the team this year. So as much as fans like to kill him for not doing A, B, or C, he's done D, E, and F pretty admirable job. And I don't know what coach would have been able to do a good job with this team with 8 different goalies this year, and the amount of I think they're up to 8 players making their NHL debut this season. That's a pretty high number, but it's a results-based business, so you have to see some kind of turnaround if he does stick around for at least one more year, which I would expect he will. You have to see some type of turnaround, some type of step forward, and not just staying in place like this year was and last year, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of part of it too. The part of the vitriol with the fan base. I've been on record saying that, as long as you can get somebody better, I would be open to it because but that's if I'm kind of reserved that I think that he's coming back. And I'm willing to give it a chance because, like I said, he has turned Jesper Bratt into a star player, and he has turned Jack Hughes into a superstar. And if Hughes doesn't get injured, and Hamilton doesn't get injured, and all of the goalies don't get injured, and Miles Wood doesn't get injured, I think Miles Wood is actually one of the more important ones because I think Miles Wood is a central part of what the team wanted to do. They want to have disruption on the bottom six. They want to have somebody, they lost Nate, like we forget in the first half of the season, they lost Nate Bastian and Miles Wood, which is like 80% of this team's toughness.
Yeah, exactly. I think Wood was going to be a big part of the team too, and that was a shame that he played 2-3 games and get shut back. They definitely were counting on his presence, his stability in the lineup, his physical nature, and I just want to say, like I mentioned, Ruff has had a hand in helping those players develop. The players also have a hand in that too. Like they've helped themselves develop, and I think they've helped those players develop too by putting some better players around them than maybe we've seen over the last 2 years prior to this season. And this is also the first real full season they've played in a really long time, right? It's been 3 years since they played a full season. You had the games got cut off at the end by COVID, and then last season was a mess of a season where you're only playing division only games. So there's a lot of factors at play. I'm really curious to see what this group does, or the returning part of this group, whoever that may be, and I think we all know a few of who those people are going to be. But I'd like to see what they could do again with another full off season of training, and hopefully management adds a piece here or there to complement them. And obviously the goaltending has to be figured out.
And Dan, let me ask you this: we brought up Miles Wood, we brought up Bratt, and I'll also bring up Pavel Zacha. 3 of the most intriguing contract decisions I've seen in a long time for this team. Obviously Jack Hughes was the big one. They got that done pretty early, and it's looking like that we got a pretty solid contract there. Nico Hischier, they got that one done pretty early as well a couple of years ago. Now you got to figure out what to pay Jesper Bratt. You got to figure out what to pay Miles Wood after an injury-riddled season, and you got to pay Pavel Zacha after, an up-and-down contract. The 3 years that he's been on this contract has been all over the place. What do you expect from these contract negotiations this summer?
The Wood one is going to be the trickiest one of them all. Again, like you mentioned, because he hasn't played that much this year, and that's a tough spot to be in. You're paying for what you think he can be that he's been already, but you don't know if he can be that again, because maybe his body is already starting to break down. We don't, we're not privy to those medical conversations. And the Zacha one is going to be that's probably the big decision. Do you try and move on from that? Do you include him in a deal for a bigger piece? But that's going to be something that has to be addressed. I would assume pretty fairly soon after the season ends, and especially as you get closer to the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. You want to know what you're dealing with. You want to know what kind of hand you're playing with. We heard all the rumors. Brock Besser. We heard Connor Garland. We heard a couple other names outside of Vancouver. So it should be interesting, I'm sure, because none of those guys got traded. So I'm sure every team is going to revisit those conversations they had near the deadline. And maybe they could get a deal done. But no, I agree with you. I think the Wood one's the most intriguing one because I don't think this team looks the same without Miles Wood in the lineup. And I liked having him in the lineup again. I think he brings, even when he's not scoring, he brings a measure of development. Let me ask you about the season. Actually, let me ask you about the forward group because that's something I've heard a lot about. I've been panned because I said that the forward group is fine. You want to make an addition in the top 6 to push everybody down one, I think that's a smart move. But if we come out the gate next season with this starting lineup and don't have to deal with a myriad of injuries, I'm on record saying I think we're in all right shape. What do you think, Dan? Do you think that this forward group needs upgrades as much as obviously goaltending or something else does, or do you think we're on the right track?
No, I think they're on the right track, and I think they have the right prospects in the system. You know, a guy like Holtz and Foote. I still feel like they're maybe a year away, and I don't think another year in the AHL would be the worst thing in the world for them. You know, barring injuries and things like that where they get calls up. But you know, if a great forward, if you can acquire a great forward for what you think is a great deal, then I say by all means go for it. Always try and enhance your team. I don't know how many of these guys are going to be on the team in 3-4 years from now, but you got to have, you know, I love what a guy like Tatar has been at the end of the season, the last 20-25 games. Like that's exactly what I think they wanted for the whole season. And you know, tough getting used to a new team and all those kind of things. Maybe plays a bit of a factor, and injuries, you know, guys in and out of the lineup. But we've really started to see like the type of impact that he can have. He's been a real play driver, whatever line he's been on recently. So those are things that, you know, that if they can add another forward, that's great. But I think more so you got to focus on figuring out the goaltending situation first and foremost, and that's the most pressing question, I think, and probably the one that I'm going to ask Fitzgerald whenever we do media breakup, the final media availability for the team this upcoming week, I guess.
And we're excited to see that because I'm sure that's going to bleed into Pucks and Pitchforks content. We're excited to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask you this. You brought up the goaltending situation, and obviously we have to ask about that. Mackenzie Blackwood's going to play one more game this season. Can he prove anything in this last game? He was not good last night, but I think there was some positives you could take out of it if you really squint hard and look for it. And that's basically all I'm looking for right now. But he definitely didn't prove that he deserves another shot on its surface last night. Do you think he can do anything, maybe now that the nerves are gone, and prove anything in this last game? Like, what's on the line for him?
Hopefully he just comes out of it healthy. That's first and foremost. You don't want him to play this game and be like a Miles Wood situation where he gets hurt going into the off season again. Hopefully he checks out medically, everything is fine. That would be my number one concern. I don't know what he's really going to accomplish by, you know, one meaningless game against the Detroit Red Wings on Friday night, other than maybe give himself a little bit of a pat on the back, like, I could still do this at this level. Like, I haven't lost it yet. But they have to, you know, they have to make a tough call. Do they think that he's the guy, or do they have to go out and get another guy to push him or to even usurp him as the number one guy? You know, as you head into the off season, he's the number one guy in the depth chart, but that could be a lot different looking by the time we get to September and October.
Are there any goalies? I mean, I think we're all assuming that Jonathan Bernier is not going to be ready to start the next season. So the Devils are obviously going to go after somebody. Is there anybody you've seen that you're interested in that's going to be a free agent? Like, are you looking for big money Darcy Kemper? Are you looking to kind of be a little bit more reserved with maybe like a Braden Holtby? Or, you know, I know a couple names have been lifted, you know, brought up to me. But is there anybody you're thinking that maybe, or maybe a trade? You know, is there somebody you're looking at that you think would be a good fit here?
I think a trade is probably the best option. I wouldn't be against bringing in a guy like a Holtby to be a 1B with Blackwood. But I think you got to look, and I think I wrote this, like, you need a situation where, like, you have a goalie demanding out of whether it's Anaheim or LA or St. Louis or wherever,
Vegas
and Vegas, and you have to have, you know, Fitz has to be Johnny on the spot and pony up and do whatever he has to do to get a legitimate, you know, a legit NHL starting goalie here, because they didn't have a lot of that this year. And it was, at times, it was tough to watch. It's not all on the goalies either, because with so many guys in and out of the lineup, and who knows how many different lineups they used overall this season. But it's just one of them things where it's like eight was plenty. Eight, with the saying 8 is enough. 8 was definitely enough as far as the amount of goaltenders that they use this year, and hopefully that doesn't happen again anytime in the near future.
So last question, Dan, before I let you go back to maybe an after dinner limoncello. Man, I can't talk today.
We're
Um,
actually having chocolate milk.
oh, hey, chocolate milk after a steak is just. I mean, milk is usually a bad choice, Dan. I will just tell you that. Maybe at least make it a White Russian. But,
Yeah.
so when you look at the the roster as a whole,
get
and then eliminate kind of the obvious ones, the Jack Hughes and the Jesper Bratt, but who were you most satisfied with their performance, let's say? Like, who did you look at? You're like, I didn't expect him to do something, and he did something. And then who was somebody you're like, who is somebody you're really looking to fix some of the transgressions he had this offseason?
I was pretty surprised with well, for one, definitely Dawson Mercer. I didn't think he was going to make the team out of camp. So that was a total shock. And for him to stay the whole season, kudos to the kid. Didn't miss one game. Knock on wood, hopefully he doesn't miss tomorrow or the next 2 days. And another one was Siegenthaler. Like, I had pretty high hopes for him when he came over at the end of last season, but you only see him for a few games. And you wonder if it's just a small sample size. But he was light years better than I think I thought he was going to be, and maybe even in some minds has moved ahead of some others on the defensive depth chart. And I guess the guy that kind of disappointed me in the same vein was Ty Smith, where I kind of expected a little bit more, especially after the kind of seasons that he had up in Spokane. But NHL is a tough league. He's a young kid. He's as a defender, he's a little bit on the smaller side, and I think he had maybe a little bit of an issue adjusting to some of the bigger players that he has to play against. Some of the men, he's still kind of a little bit of a kid, still developing. So he definitely got a lot of teachable moments that he can learn from this season, and hopefully he's better going forward.
Yeah, I agree with those. I love what I've seen from Dawson Mercer. Real quick, what do you expect for Dawson Mercer? Do you think he's a center long term, or do you think they're going to keep him in the wing?
I could see him being both. I think you might want to let him run on his own line for a little while, but then when it comes to crunch time, maybe you move up to Jack's wing or you move up to Nico's wing. He's going to play wing, I think, on penalty kills. From time to time, we've seen a little bit of that this year, and on the power play. I like the idea that he can be versatile. We've seen that in the past with guys like whether it's Steven Stamkos or Evgeny Malkin, where they may be natural centers. They move to the wing every now and then, and maybe as they get later on in their careers, they're smart enough where they can play a little bit of both. But lean more towards the wing side, so you're always kind of loading up your top six, right?
Yeah. I think that's the case that you want. You want to have the best players in the top six on those top lines, doing things with the other top players. So I'm kind of penciling Mercer into that top line or the top six. But Dan, enjoy dessert. Hopefully the filet mignon sits well with you, and you kind of get the fumes a little bit, later tonight. But Dan, I appreciate you coming on to spend time with us.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. I really appreciate every time you guys let me on. I know the season probably wasn't what you were expecting when you brought me on to be a writer, and I had to deal with some off-ice things that I never really encountered in the past, but I'm looking forward to the season ending finally, and kind of moving forward to the off season and starting to pump out some more content as we get closer to free agency, the draft, and hopefully we get a rookie camp. I believe we are going to get one of them again this year, so that's something I always look forward to. So just thanks again for everything, and look forward to talking to you guys next time we chat.
Dan, thanks so much. Remember, at D-Rice Hockey, follow him on Twitter, and that's where he'll share all of his pucks and pitchforks and ice guarding content. So we look forward, got to celebrate the other side of hockey as well. Thanks so much for coming on, Dan.
Thanks. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, Dan. That is Dan Rice, Pucks and Pitchforks blog. We interrupted his dessert with Moose to talk Devils hockey. See, I feel like I don't know. You guys amaze me. You had your wisdom tooth pulled. Dan's whining and dining with Moose. Just making time for the podcast. I feel like I did nothing today. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that for you.
But you know what it does show these young kids? You never know if Jack Hughes is listening in. You don't know if like the young players listen to this podcast. But what they're thinking is, wow, sometimes they're critical about us, but you know what? They've got grit. Yeah, they've got grit. I mean,
I'm trying
the
out for the
audience
bottom six next year. I'm gonna be a pure hitter.
The audience doesn't. Earlier in the week, I said, Nick, you're getting your tooth pulled. Do you want an e-bub? It's like you waved off the e-bub. No emergency backup broadcaster. I'm like, are you sure? Gotta congratulate
Sam,
you.
I'm from New Jersey. I flipped off the e-bub. You know, I gave him the Jersey State bird, and I was like, how about you get out of here? How about you get out of here, e-bub? You know, I got this. We're lifting heavy this week. Let's go. Yeah, no, I'm in. You know, it's a lot of blood in my mouth. I'm not gonna lie to you, but besides that, I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll see you later in the next few days when I head down your neck of the woods. Be traveling.
Yep. We're gonna work on that.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know, I do want to promote a couple things real quick. We have a lot of stuff on the site right now, but I got to get 7 articles up before the end of the month. So I'm gonna be writing machine. You know, despite the injury, still playing hurt, Sam. We're still playing hurt. But there's a ton of stuff already on there. I gave my thoughts on the 50-50 thing from Greg Wyshynski. Gave some quick thoughts on that. That's on the site. 5 players who I think are going to go to World Championships. Sam, what do you think about Jack Hughes playing hockey again this year?
Why not? If he can play.
Putting on that old red, white, and blue. So it's something we have to consider. But I was going over some of the 5 players we can see at the World Championships in Finland. Jeremy Goldstein wrote 3 free agent goalie options the Devils should sign. We got Blackwood content. We spoke with Trey Matthews. Spoke with Joe Tellentino, the Devils' PA announcer. I know he's a controversial figure among this fan base, but you know, give it a shot. Read what he has to say.
I don't even know how he can be controversial. He said all the right things. He's done all the right things. I can understand if some fans don't prefer him, but how could he be like that polarizing figure right now amongst the fan base?
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think the fan base is bored and they're, you know, unjustly taking it out on the PA announcer. I think that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. I like the interview. Trey did a good job with the interview, so go read it. You know, give the guy a shot. His confidence is not wavered. I will say that. But that's on the site, and then tomorrow, you know, I'll have some. I'm trying to think of the content. Sunday or Saturday. Saturday's gonna be a fun day. You wanna know why, Sam? And this is going in your inbox too. We're gonna get the gang together again. We're doing a good old Pucks and Pitchforks campfire where we get everybody doing an article together. That's me, Sam. Your attendance.
I'm gonna pull a Ben Simmons.
No, you're not. You're not. You're gonna play. You're gonna play.
That's somewhat Devils related. It's not just basketball. It had something to do with the Sixers.
I was gonna say, like, you know, Josh Harris got himself out of that Ben Simmons situation, so maybe
he's looking like a genius.
I know
he's looking like a genius.
It's not even like James Harden don't even look that good either, though. So let's not before we pat anybody on the back. And then so we're gonna get everybody together to give our post-season thoughts or after the season thoughts, kind of a couple questions, just kind of, who do you think did well this season? Who, everybody's opinion on Lindy and just kind of put that in written form. Love these pieces. I think that they're really fun. So that'll be up on the site on Saturday. I'm sure I'll have plenty of content. Oh, we have draft content. Our first real draft piece, Sam, is up on the site. Just kind of going over some of the players the Devils could take with that first pick. I'll do more draft content after the lottery once I kind of know where they're picking. But for now, go check that out. That's at pucksandpitchforks.com. But that's it, Sam. That's all I got. Early show tonight.
Thank you, Nick. Yep. I'm going to plug a couple things before we go. Tomorrow, Game Day Live. Vinny Parisi and I will be back. Also, Devils After Dark after the game concludes against the Carolina Hurricanes. And Friday, home finale. Taj Lounge, 973, 35 Edison Place. I'll be there eating the catfish with Vinny Parisi in Chicago, and our good friend Chico Resch will stop by. Chico Resch stopping by at Taj Lounge 973. Just want to put that out there. Also go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Reiterate, I'm not going to pull a Ben Simmons. I can't do that, although I have been. But it's not like, anyway, I shouldn't even get into that. All right. Enough's enough. Have fun, everybody. Dropping the podcast at midnight. Till next time, let's go Devils.